By the time I was in junior high school and then high school, I'm talking about 1971, 72, 73, they were having some of the first New York Comic Cons. And really, these were crude affairs where people just sold crates, just had crates of comic books. That was really it. Plus, and it'd be in some crummy hotel. There was a hotel that's built on next to Grand Central Station. It was called the Commodore, after Commodore Vanderbilt. Crummy, smoke-filled hotel. People smoked indoors. It's hard to even conjure that word. But they would have these Comic Cons, and they'd have these guys with the racks and racks of crates of comics. Then they would also have ballroom events in the hotels, and there you could see Jack Kirby, and he would speak.
What year do you think this was?
71, 72.
Okay, early 70s.
Bill Seuling, who had these Comic Cons, right?
So this is a Seuling convention then.
Right. And I knew Phil through a kid who I later met Phil through a kid I went to high school with. But even at the time, like 71, so I was still in junior high, you'd go, Kirby would speak. Kirby had this really weird backwards way of talking that didn't make a lot of sense, I gotta say, as a kid.
Yeah, like Yoda or something.
Right. I mean, the one thing I ever heard him say that made sense was, when you and I get angry, we kick the can down the street or something. When Thor gets angry, he knocks the top off a mountain. And so that's the whole thing. He says, look at the Hulk. He just gets mad all the time. Well, that made sense. But a lot of the stuff Kirby said, I couldn't even follow it because it was very non sequitur, whatever. But you could also see him half an hour later in the room with the guys with the crates of comics. And he'd just be standing there holding court. And kids like me would bring our drawings, and he'd look at them, and my drawings were awful, and he'd be encouraging. He'd say, yeah, try a little harder. I think you're lazy here. You're not, like that. So he was a real mentor figure to a whole clique of kids and we'd go day after day to see Jack Kirby. It was just a subway ride away from me on the number 7 train. One day we're in one of those rooms. He's smoking a cigar. Everybody's smoking. It's a little room, and there's guys with crates of comic books. And New York being New York, there was always an edge of violence. So that I'm there showing Kirby my drawings. Suddenly from across the room, you hear someone say, and then boom, 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 and you hear the sound of a fight. Just boom, and that violence fills the room. And two guys, or someone was stealing a comic or something, and two guys are having a punch-up, on the carpet, this ugly stained carpeting, and they're fighting and they're grabbing each other's shirts like men do, and blood is coming out. And Kirby, we're all for a moment like this, we're frozen. I'm a little kid, and I was short for my age. And Kirby, who was very short, he takes me by the hand. He goes, come here. I think we can take these guys. I think we can take these guys. So I'm like terrified. I'm like this. He pulls me across the room. This is a true story. And he confronts these guys. He says, hey, why don't you guys pick on someone your own size? And he meant it. He absolutely meant it. Like, he would fight these two guys right then and there. And because he was Jack Kirby, and because he had that authority, and because he had gray in his hair, and for a lot of reasons,
he was probably 45 or something at that time.
He was born in, I think, 1917.
Yeah.
So, 50, so he'd be 53, 54.
53, 54. Okay, yeah, okay. So then.
Short little guy with a cigar, but just tough as hell.
That's great.
An authentically tough guy. And he says, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? Like a line of dialogue from a Cagney movie or something, like as corny as that. Why don't you pick on somebody your own size? They stop the fight. And they, and then they carry on and everything. And Kirby, we go back over and start talking about comics and drawing again. But at that moment, I thought he was God. I thought he was like, he walked on water to me. That was my idol.